Going live. Oh,
Oh,
you're live already.
God. But we gotta make sure we're like in the groove. So most
Okay.
people that are
Sure.
actually part of our community
Fantastic.
know what's going on. So I'm gonna quickly share the link.
Good.
And plus people are jumping on anyway, so it takes a second for everybody to see what's going on.
So I'm putting my seatbelt on.
All
I'm putting
right.
my seatbelt on because it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a ride. So,
It's
so
gonna be fire.
caliente, caliente,
Whatever,
caliente.
like, hey Jenny. Jenny's always
Ah,
such an incredible follower. The vote follower, Jenny, say hi.
what's up, Jenny? Do I know Jenny? Haven't met
No,
Jenny.
Jenny Santos, she's just one of my followers.
Oh, what's up, Jenny? Thank you for joining us.
All right, let's see if I can find the group.
Are you looking for it on your phone? Is that what-
Yeah, I'm doing it from it just seems faster. Like on the computer, you have to
Yeah,
like type in
I
everything.
know.
It's super annoying. All right, looks like double check, make sure that we're live in there. Hey guys, whoever's watching live, as we're kind of working through the technology on here. We were just literally talking about how we've had to like learn how to do things in the system with everything changing. And all right, we are live in the group. So awesome. So the only thing that stinks about this is for those of you that are watching live from my page, you can comment and we can see it. But if it's in the group and you comment directly under the group video that I shared, I'm not going to see it right on this app. So if you guys are watching and joining us from the group, you guys could just click on the link so that you're actually on my page. So that way you can comment, ask questions, and then interact with us while we are on here live. So we want to welcome you guys to our last day of the 5-day productivity challenge. For those of you that are joining from my page, you probably have no idea what we're talking about. But the last 4 days, we've been active in our community. We created a free online group that is really focused on helping those who are interested in leveling up their performance during this quarantine, because it's been hard to kind of balance everything and figure out how do we, get work done and home management and still take care of ourselves. So we kind of put this group together for our community to help them to learn how to adjust and adapt. And so we spent the last 4 days talking about different tips and strategies to do that. And today is kind of our recap day where we're going to kind of talk about what we talked about, but in a very shortened version. And then give additional tips and really bring it all together as to why this topic is so important for us, and hopefully for whoever's watching us, for you guys to realize how important our personal health and wellness is to our productivity. So, and that's kind of what we focus on. We could have given additional strategies like actual like organizational strategies, but we didn't decide not to focus on that quite yet. So so thank you again, Victor, honestly for doing this with me and taking the time to give your incredible knowledge as well, your different aspect of looking at ways to become more productive in a more psychological way, right? And I think that's incredible. So let's go ahead, jump right in and recap kind of what we talked about this week. For those of you that didn't have a chance to join us, we can talk a little bit how this week looked and maybe encourage you to join our next one. And this is our first time doing this, so it's gonna be more. It's just gonna get better and better and better. At least that's how I look at it when I'm doing new things. So, so Victor, I don't know if you want to kick us off with some of the kind of the topics and themes that we focused on for this last week, and how it's helped or it could help those who start applying it after this challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely do that. So thank you all who are watching. And I want to thank every single person that participated in this. We had some serious traction on there. We were posting videos. Natalie was posting videos in the morning because Natalie is more experienced than I am with technology. And Victor was overwhelmed with it. And I will admit that is my Achilles heel. And I'm starting to get used to it. And yeah, so it was great to see so many people, so many viewers commenting, liking, people subscribing to the YouTube channels that we both have and stuff. And so it was good. It was great. And I'm glad that we brought it from the webinars that we're doing on Wednesday, which we were talking about sort of like, what happens to us psychologically when we end up encountering tough challenges and experiences, problems in life. And I think that we all encounter challenges. And in terms of challenges, they're there as an opportunity for us to look to grow, right? Grow through it, not around it. And I think that it was great to talk about the usual reaction that we normally have when we encounter a circumstance, either flight, fight, or freeze. And we said that right now, well, when we were talking then, we were saying that a number of people were kind of like in the static pattern rather than an active pattern, where folks are just kind of taking it lightly, not knowing whether or not this is true, how long it's going to last. That doesn't matter. What matters is that the outside world is encountering let's say a problem, which is now a crisis, and we should not stay static, but we should stay active. And so we talked a little bit about some of the things that people can do to repurpose themselves, right? Figuring out, so like, hey, listen, if you lost your job or anything like that, like what can you do? We talked about pivoting, and we talked about retooling, and that brought us to the productivity challenge. And in terms of the productivity challenge, you did a great job of outlining what each of the days would look like. Could you talk real quickly about what the 5 themes were, or the 4 themes that we discussed?
Yeah, so I kind of set up the group so that we kind of, I like to talk to the analogy of the sandwich, and I kicked it off with talking about our morning routine, and then we kind of talked about the evening routines, and then the in between, how to stay active during the day, so that we're staying as productive as possible. So I kicked it off with the morning routines, like how important the strategies we have around our bodies and activating ourselves. And I like the word that I love that word, activating, or staying active, because it really does impact our ability to continue the momentum, right? Rather than pausing and freezing, it doesn't matter how slow we're going, but we're still going somewhere. And so that's why I wanted to really break down, simple habits on how to become more productive. And I talked about nutrition, really, really basic, simple stuff. Because I know during this time, nobody's thinking about complicated stuff. Like it's, and some of the participants in the group, like I've mentioned, I've followed up with them and say like, hey, how's the group going? Have you been able to connect on the topics we've been doing? Some people like were real, like, I haven't had a chance to watch all the videos yet, which is totally cool. We're all so busy. People are homeschooling. People are trying to work in the limited amount of time that they have during the day. People are trying to home manage their house, because now it seems like, when you're not home, you don't have to worry about the dishes and the laundry until like in the evenings or weekend, right? Now it's like in front of us, and we have to like, oh my gosh, I have to manage this with everything else. So we really wanted to get you focused on little tweaks in your habits that you would already be doing anyways. It's just tweaking it so that you are more active, have more energy, you're focused. And so we focus on the morning routines. And then I actually gave a sample workout routine that people can follow in the group. I didn't get a chance to check in to see how everybody did with that.
I don't think I would. I can't hang with you, man. Like after like 10, 15 minutes, like I would be sweating. I would be exhausted. You were kicking my butt. So that was freaking awesome.
Yeah. So I actually shared a kickboxing workout. Right now, I'm a weight training. I love weight training, and incorporating some running with that. But I know, like, from back in the day when I thought, in my track, you're the track athlete. I was never a track athlete, but I attempted to do it. And I remember like weight training was a really important aspect of training for runs. And so that's the part that I love. And so I just talked a little bit about why workouts really matter. It doesn't matter whether you're an athlete or not. Like we all have to move our bodies. And so we talked a little bit about that. And then you yourself jumped into a different aspect. You did talk about your body, but you mentioned the SNAP method, which is pretty cool, because I've heard of the SNAP, but not like the acronyms and that method that you mentioned.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are so many different methods. I like to use acronyms because it's so easy to just remember, right? And it's like, for me, it's about working with the brain and how the brain works. The brain likes things that are simple. So I use neurology and neurolinguistic programming to help people remember very simple things. One of the things that we talked about is that in terms of like people who are watching us, people who are part of the program or anything, it's we all want to experience the best life possible. And I think that that is not something that's far reaching. I was talking to a client earlier today, and it was interesting because the client that I was speaking to earlier today he was talking about some of the ways in which he thinks he must have a certain level of success. And I was like, well, so he create these impossible rules, like where he puts himself in a perpetual cycle of basically feeling like he's not enough, like he's not doing enough, like he's comparing himself to other people. And I'm saying, look, dude, you're always going to fall short to the kind of life and life experience that you're going to have if you're consistently comparing yourself to other people. So I mentioned that because we talked about transforming people's lives through some of these habits. And in order for you to be able to change your life, you don't need to you don't need to climb Mount Everest, man. Like,
right.
Honestly, you can climb a little hill right around the corner, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to do amazing things to change your life, honestly. And so I talk about the SNAP method, which is real simple. It's SNAP as soon as you wake up in the morning. Really, you're snapping out of the dream state and stepping into sort of your world. You're immediately going into a neurological hack. What that puts you is in the driver's seat, saying that life does not just happen by serendipity or by accident, but I have agency. And so the attitude that we take towards life is that life happens for us, not against us, right? Like, sorry, life works for us, not against us. Right. And immediately we have to get up. And once we get up is reciting what our purpose is, right? So once we recite what our purpose is, it allows us to be excited about the full day that we have before us. And so that's why I like the SNAP method. It's super simple. As soon as you wake up, you recite your purpose, and it allows you to capture a vision for the things that you need to be doing for that day in order for your purpose to be fulfilled.
Yes, and I love that we're talking about our bodies and also purpose, right? And we have to be intentional. And I think many of us are kind of in limbo right now. We're literally like in limbo, and it's almost like we're floating in space, and we have no idea what's going on, and we have no control of what's going on around us. But we do have control of our physiology, our biology, right? And that's why it's so important that we understand that our mind and our body are connected in our ability to produce, to perform. And so that's why we focus so hardcore on that this week. And for many people, I'm sure we're kind of maybe frustrated with they were coming into this challenge thinking, oh, I'm gonna have a schedule to follow. And she's gonna walk me through on how she sets up her schedule. Yeah. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing that, because I've done that before. And then people are still stuck.
Right. Yeah.
And so we got to talk about what keeps people stuck.
Absolutely.
When it comes to productivity, to mindset. It's not the strategies and tactics. And I know this because I had to go through this myself, where I had all the strategies. I had done all the trainings. I had done all the books, and I had done the conferences, and I was still in the same place 3 years later.
Yep. What
is the difference? It's right here.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, forget all that stuff. Like, we have to build on the foundation of our inner body, how it works, so we can activate ourselves. And so hence why every single morning, not every single morning, I'm not perfect, guys. Like, legit, I'm not perfect. So most mornings I'm awake and moving my body so I can activate those cells and that mind and the motivation, because people tell me I don't have motivation to do stuff. Well, move your body.
Right.
Move your body. Pick up some weights.
right. Pick up something, throw something, break something, yell, hop around, put some music.
That's for me. Like, when I get pissed and I'm like not motivated, I'm like, let me do some push-ups.
Do some play some music, do something. And you know what's it's interesting, like you mentioned, it's so in terms of being stuck, what is that? That's a pattern, right? And that's a kind of like a way of being. So immediately, like, what you do is, if you think about it too much, you're going to talk yourself out of it. So why give yourself the opportunity to talk yourself out of it? Why don't you talk yourself into it by not even thinking and just getting to action? And I think that too often we get in our heads about so many things, right? And so it's getting out of our heads, going into our heart, going into our body, right? Knowing that the body has wisdom, listening to that wisdom, and then getting to action. And that's the most important part, because ultimately we talked about productivity, and um, and I'll back up a little bit, but we talked about productivity. And in order for you to be more productive, meaning you want to do more, but what you need in order to do more is that you need focus and you need energy. And they are correlated, they're related. They like, you cannot have one without the other. You need them both. And so what we talked about were some of the things in order for anyone, any individual, very simple, maximum 2 to 3 minutes, some simple exercises, some knowledge to create awareness as to how you're using your mind, your body, and your spirit in a way that is keeping you stuck. And so we talked about some of the ways where we could shift, where we could pivot. And I love that. I love that. I mean, I talked about something very simple, the Wim Hof method, which is breathing. Listen, if you really just shift the way that you breathe, it's going to give you more energy in your day. And literally having that being just one habit that you do differently is basically, it creates the domino effect. So there are a number of other habits that you're likely to adopt when you do one real well. And if something that we could probably do well is probably breathing, because we've breathed for a long, because we've been doing it since they spanked our booty, and and we started crying when we were babies, right? And so anyhow, so what we need to do is breathe appropriately. So if we're breathing from our chest up here, that means that's triggering to your brain that you're stressed out. Who isn't stressed out right now? I think most of us are stressed out. So if we want to get away from the stress, what we need to do is adopt habits that welcome us, right, to the calm state of being, right? It's epic, baby. Yeah, we got to do epic breathing, baby. I love that Chris is on here. Hey, Chris, what's up, man? I love you, bro. It's so good to see you on here.
He loves your shirt. So, yo, listen, look we're matching, and we didn't even plan for this.
Yes.
I think alike.
And so it's interesting. Yeah. So there was a lot that we talked about. I talked about alkaline. Listen, if for some reason the earth is covered with 80% water, if your body is 70 to 80% water, then the foods that you're eating should probably be water-based so that you really nourish yourself. And so you got to nourish yourself with having fruits and vegetables. Listen, I don't want to sound like your parent. I don't want to sound like your mom. I'm not going to tell you to eat your broccoli, but you probably should, because it actually has good nutritious value. But for the most part, what we have is a lot of sugar in our diet. We have a lot of preservatives. And so we talked a little bit about nutrition. And I said, we have 7 glands. We are one big chemical soup, right? And so with that big chemical soup, we have 7 primary glands, and we have to eat certain foods that actually stimulate the hormones that we need to do this. Smile from ear to ear, feel good, to have energy, to release all those chemicals that are going to allow us to feel at home in our own body.
Yes. So, and again, these things that we're mentioning, and I kept reiterating over and over again, like, this is common sense stuff. Simple. It's not common practice. And so I feel like, I sometimes have to hear things over and over and over again and then when it happens, when it falls in a place in my life where I'm like, it finally clicks. And so sometimes we have to be part of these type of communities. We have to be part of some mentorship or trainings or whatever for it to finally click, and maybe not all of it clicks for you, but there's an aspect of something we have talked about that will be like, oh, I need to work on that. And
right.
So that's why we talked about the different aspects of the health and wellness. And I talked about evening routines and how that also impacts your ability to perform, because you're not sleeping well. There's no way you're going to have the energy like we just talked about. There's right. No way. And so, and people always say, well, I can work on 4 hours of sleep. That's great. That's what you think. Imagine if you had some solid 6 to 7 hours of sleep, how much more you would produce. We don't realize that, though. We don't realize that we are like giving bare minimum sometimes. What we think in our head is we're giving 100%, but we're not.
Right. We're lying to ourselves.
We are, and we have to be realistic to ourselves and ask. And this is where being self-aware comes into place, and really being honest with yourself and where you are in your life, and asking, am I doing everything efficiently? Not so much are you working harder, because we weren't talking about working harder.
Right.
Really talking about being efficient with what you got right now. And so I talked about, you talked about alkaline, I talked about gut health, and why gut health really has all tied back, because our brain, our gut health, our gut is our second brain. And so what we're putting into our body is being transferred into our brain, and so vice versa, right? And so all these pieces really matter in the whole scheme of things. Not that we're doing them all at once, but little by little, they're little tweaks that you want to be able to do. Now, you did mention something earlier, when you were talking about the SNAP method, and it brought me back to, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of her name, but have you heard of the 5-4-3-2-1 system?
Yeah. Something Robbins. What's her name?
Yes. Oh yes, Robbins. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of her first name right now.
Maybe Michelle. It might be Michelle. I think it's something Robbins. Yeah,
something Robbins. Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Okay, awesome, cool. So it's similar to that, right? Like it's the, you stop yourself from thinking your way out of stuff, right? And a lot of times our brain stops us, and it's exactly what he was just mentioning. It's flight or fight, or flight or freeze, right? And so our brain is constantly trying to protect us from what is seemingly dangerous circumstances, right? And dangerous circumstances in our brain could be, oh my gosh, don't ask that girl to dance because that's dangerous. And so we stop ourselves, right? Same thing with, should I send that message to that person? If you're a salesman, should I send that message? Should I invite that person? Should I ask for the sale? Your brain is protecting you because you don't want to feel uncomfortable.
You want to feel the pain.
You don't want to feel the pain. And so you freeze, right? And so these methods, and same thing with the hard stuff, right? There's things that we don't want to do in our jobs that is hard, whether it's create that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of jobs out there, when case studies or something like that for like nurses, and we know how much work is going to be. So we procrastinate. And it's because we're fearful. We don't want to feel the pain, right? Of the struggle of doing the work. So these methods really are helping you to stop your brain from thinking and just taking action. And so the 5-4-3-2-1 system also is a great method where you literally count yourself. Countdown. You count down. And she got it. Mel Robbins. Yeah. He talks about how she was watching TV, and she was watching the NASA launch, and they were counting down, and she had an epiphany where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to count myself down every single morning so that I don't stay in bed when the snooze button, when the alarm goes off. And so she counted herself out of bed so she would wake up earlier and get stuff done, right? It's simple, stupid, because she said it. She's like, this is the stupidest thing that ever happened to me, but it changed everything for her.
It changed her life. It's interesting, Natalie. I love the fact that you're mentioning that, because I mentioned something earlier, and one of the things that I said is that typically what we do is we actually talk ourselves out of it rather than talk ourselves into something. And that really has to do a lot with our self-worth and self-esteem and what we believe that we deserve. And so ultimately, one of the things that I continue to emphasize, two of the primary fears that we all universally experience is, am I good enough? Meaning, do I deserve this? Do I deserve it? And the other one is, am I lovable? Well, the thing is, of course, you're going to be, you are going to have a tough time acting and doing the right things that you need to do to have the appropriate health, to eat the appropriate things, to be able to follow through with a commitment that you had. There are going to be so many ways in which we're going to fall short, because the brain automatically is, those are two primary fears, right? Am I good enough, or am I lovable? One of the things that's going to happen is your brain immediately is going to give you reasons why you're not good enough or why you're not lovable. So it's going to be so easy for you to talk yourself out of anything. That is a fundamental way in which we're designed, and we have to actually work against that design, and we have to condition ourselves. And so that's why it's so important for us to talk about these things. It's so important for us to also say these things so that we stop from actually abusing ourselves. All right. And giving ourselves what we know we want, what we know we believe. So ultimately, a lot of what we talked about was the fundamental design of the mind, the brain, the gut of life. And we said these are the fundamental designs, and it's so important to know these fundamental designs so that we can honor these fundamental designs, so that we can understand how to walk away from convincing ourselves that we don't deserve it. I mean, it's so interesting because, again, I was talking to a client earlier today. One of the things that he was saying was, listen, like, I don't know why I focus on the things that I do wrong more than the things that I do well.
Yep. Huge.
And we beat ourselves up then, right? And so then all of a sudden we become our worst critic, our worst judge, our worst opponent, our worst enemy. And then all of a sudden we put ourselves in the judge's seat, and they're like, oh man, dude, it's already 15, 20 minutes late. Come on, man. Like, you should probably just skip out on that. You shouldn't do it. All of a sudden, that voice, I talked about the archetypes. That is the archetype. That is a archetype. Those voices that automatically come into your head, that's the saboteur. That's the person that says, listen, dude, it's all right. You don't need to do that. Save it for another day, right?
Yep.
And then we from the saboteur, we immediately shift into the victim. But we're victimizing ourselves, right? And so I can comfortably mention some of these things because I've experienced this. And I'm sure, Natalie, you can relate. I'm sure there are some people who can relate, right? And so one of the things, because I actually grew up, and I mentioned part of my story, right? My story is I've experienced a lot of rejection. I've experienced a lot of hurt and pain from the people that I love and that are supposed to love me. And because of that, so I got used to the idea of being rejected by other people. Then I started rejecting myself, and then I didn't want to give myself what I thought I wanted and what I knew that I wanted and deserved. And so I don't think I'm the only one that has gone through that. Can you relate? I don't know.
Yes. Oh my gosh. On so many levels I can relate. And it's gonna fulfill itself in different ways. Mine was huge. Mine was that pivotal moment when the D word in my marriage came up, the divorce, and I had a decision to make and decide, like, is the pain of me being depressed and anxious enough for me to let this marriage fall apart, or is the pain of me not working towards this marriage and improving it by working on me and understanding what is that pain that I'm bringing up into my marriage that is affecting our relationship, that is affecting everything, my belief in myself, all those pieces. We don't think that they tie together, but they absolutely do. And it's a story. And we keep saying that word, story. It's a story we keep telling ourselves. And it repeats over and over in different aspects of our life, and ultimately decide our fate.
Right.
And our fate in our marriages, in our families, in our careers. And so many of us stay stuck, and we settle. And we settle because, the fight or freeze. We justify why we're staying where we are. Well, I don't need more money. That would be selfish for me to ask for promotion. Why would I open my business? People won't support me. Or right. Why would I invite others to do this with me? Or whatever story we're telling ourselves. And so all this stuff ties together in some capacity. Hence why I feel like, my focus has always been health and wellness as the foundation, because what I've seen, the transformations in women's lives, is not so much physical. Although I've seen people lose 50 pounds, 30 pounds. I've seen a woman lose up to 100 pounds of working with me for a year. It's not so much that physical transformation, is that internal transformation of that belief in themselves that they can accomplish what they really want to accomplish. And that, to me, is what happened to me. It was the transformation of believing in myself. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to give this gift to other people.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing. So one of the things that happens, like I mentioned, in terms of our psychology, is that in from age 1 to 7, you start developing really kind of your identity, and your identity to a certain extent becomes fixed. So throughout our life, we're consistently actually becoming a sponge for the first years of our lives, where people are telling us what to do, how to think, what to believe. And so what we start ingesting, what we start actually adopting, is what's called a program. That in psychology, what people are called our ego. And so that ego is basically an unconscious development, right? An unconscious development of who we think we are, but that's not who we really are, right? No one outside of ourselves can tell us who we are. And so what we're doing and what we're talking about is empowering people with the tools, empowering people with the technologies, with the strategies, with the know-how, for them to say, listen, life is not going to happen to me by accident. Life is going to happen to me by design. And I tell you, I kid you not, right? When you had that story, and you were at some point you said, hey, listen, you know what? I'm thinking about the D word, right? Well, you could have easily surrendered and given into that, or you said, you know what, I'm going to rewrite my story, and I'm going to write one that where I'm going to take control of my destiny. So you actually made a decisive decision to pivot, and we talked about pivoting, and so you had to rewrite. So you took your pen back and you said, no, I am not going to fall victim to this. I'm not going to fall victim to myself. I'm not going to continue to have my worth be subject to external stimulus, external authorities, or anybody else. My worth, the life that I believe that I deserve, is going to be determined by me and no one else. And I feel like that is, if anything, if there's an invitation that this opportunity is providing for us, and I believe it is this. It is this thing that, like, hey, listen, is your government check arrived yet? Heck no, right? if and I'm keeping it real, that right now, more so than before, we have to wake up. We have to recognize the ways that we are surrendering our willpower, that we're surrendering our sovereignty, that we have agency. And so all these tools that we're, sorry, I'm getting pumped right here. I'm getting all worked up.
It always happens when we're on your live, guys.
Yeah, this is what it's about. This is what it's about, and this is why we're doing what we're doing, what we're talking about, what we're talking about. You know, you mentioned something that that's extremely pivotal, and so one of the things that you talk about always is athletes, right? So you talk about athletes and how athletes are a great metaphor of for us to look at, because what they do is they train, and they train a specific way in order for them to have a specific outcome, right? And so a lot of these athletes don't train on their own. A lot of these athletes train with a coach, train with a mentor. Right? And so, and then a lot of these athletes are also looking at the clues that other successful athletes have left behind.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Tad, it's like, did you all read my book? maybe that's why you're here.
It's funny because sometimes when I speak, right, because I have, over time, what I've been able to do is I actually can observe my mind map. I can observe the victim. I can observe these things. And so what happens is I practice observing my brain, my belief systems, and my mind map. And sometimes people say, they'll tell me, like, get out of my head, dude. I can't stand it. Like, this is kind of creepy. So maybe I did read your journal last night.
But yes, we're talking about athletes and really their performance. And I mentioned this yesterday to Victor, and I'm saying, like, you know, why have we focused so much on physical? And I know we've kind of like hammered this down during this live, but there is no other way. Let me just put it that way. Like, there is no other way for us to play at higher levels. And I think so. I know some people are going to be tempted to say, well, I am satisfied where I'm at. I don't believe, and y'all can fight me on this one, but I don't believe God wanted us to settle. Like, he says to us, like, keep going, you know, keep reaching. Like, the process of reaching, it's not because we're going to get there. Like, some people do, some people don't. It's the growth process. He wants us to continuously grow. And so if you're sitting there and saying, well, I don't need that, I'm good. then you haven't understood the ultimate purpose of life. And I know there's a lot of people here that are watching that may not have gotten to that level yet of really considering, like, why am I here? Why is all this happening right now? And what lessons do I need to learn from this opportunity? And it all comes down to, I think about the athlete and the performance that they're able to acquire and do because of their training and their routines and their habits, their early nights that they go to bed, the early mornings they wake up before the sun comes up, and they're training hard, and all those things tie back to their ability to perform at such levels that is awe-inspiring, because you watch them in the Olympics and you're like, oh my gosh, like Michael Phelps, right? And Michael Jordan, and you're looking at them, you're like, you know, and we put them as idols. Like, oh my gosh, these are idols. Like, they're just like superhumans. And that's why they were just blessed with that, right? No. Go to their freaking stories, and where did they start? They weren't athletes. They weren't good. They sucked. Especially Michael Jordan. Horrible. He was horrible. He didn't even make it into the teams in the beginning of him, you know, practicing and all that. So we got to consider that, you know, we are responsible for our success. Nothing else, not the government, not the politicians, not the world, what happens outside of us. We have capability. Hence why we're talking about your physiology, your biology, your physical abilities to do what you need to do to perform, get the results you're looking for. And why we believe that having a mentor and a coach really matters in this, because guess what? Like, I can try to do all this by myself, but I haven't. And neither has Victor. I know he hasn't. Like, we haven't gotten here by ourselves.
No.
Absolutely not. We had mentors. And through this journey, we have invested in different levels of some type of mentorship, whether it's at conferences, whether it's one-on-one coaching, life coaching, whether it's myself health coaching, a health coach that I hired, like all those pieces, books, trainings, all this personal development. The reason why I think we vibe so well is because we've been on this journey for almost, you know, I think Victor a little longer than myself, but we've been on this journey for 5, 6, 7 years. And so the amount of development we put into ourselves is the reason why we are such on high level, like, energy, you know, in life right now. So this matters.
Yeah, absolutely. It does matter. And, you know, and there's so much that you said, and there's so much that we can unpack about all that stuff, right? We could be here all day. And you know, one of the things that you talked about was purpose. And so I firmly believe that we are, let's say, I want to say, if you want to call it consciousness, if you want to call it spirit, if you want to call it energy, listen, I don't care what you call it. At the end of the day, we are, let's say, a spirit having a human experience. And so the spirit comes with a seed. That seed is planted in this body, and through this body, right, that seed of that purpose can grow into a tree that bears fruit. Now, dude, you're talking to me in abstract forms. What the heck are you talking about? So, you know, Tag is on here. And so I want to thank him for being on here, and you know, Chris is on here, and you know, and so I know, and Raquel, I just saw Raquel Casada. Hola, mi amiga. And so one of the things, you know, Raquel right now, like, you know, she helps individuals who have disability. That's her purpose. I mean, she's literally changing the world, literally changing the world. Now, she had a son, and she can tell her story, but you know, one of her sons has a disability, and she didn't reject her son. She didn't reject herself. She embraced him, and she used that as an opportunity for her to come up with a vision for her to bless other people. Now, the thing that the personal struggles that we have, the personal stories and the battles that we've encountered are all a clue to the direction in which you should be walking in order for you to be an overcomer, to be a victor, quote unquote, right? To be an over.
I was kidding.
No pun intended. To literally to overcome. And so, you know, and I have my friend Tag here, and so one of the things is, you know, he uses art, but listen, he's an artist, but through that medium, through that channel, he is able to inspire people. He's able to create an aesthetic, appealing place. It's also therapeutic. There are people who can be healed through the arts. I have my friend Chris, who I've known for so long. Ooh. And so Chris is a pastor, and there were moments when I found myself literally not wanting to live. And if I didn't call Chris, I would not be here today. Right? And so this is what this is about, that this is not by accident, and that we have the capacity to really be clay, right? And to allow ourselves to have the potter, right? We need to be, our life is clay. We are the potters. But every single potter needs a teacher, needs a mentor, needs some guidance, or needs a community in order for you to learn how to be able to sculpt that clay so that you are providing something that the world can receive and accept, right? And so I got really emotional. I got really emotional there. But I think it's so important. So listen, if there's somebody that's listening right now and you perhaps are wondering, like, yeah, it's so easy for you to talk that way because you've been through it, or because no, listen, that is and I'm gonna use a bad word here, right? It's gonna be foul mouth. So if you need to put your earmuffs on, right, put them on. But that's bullshit, right? And we need to call it what it is. That is a lie, right? That is an illusion, and we can no longer continue to buy or live into this illusion that we are to settle for mediocrity.
Yes, amen. And so this is why we're here today, is because even for those of you who have joined us in this 5-day challenge, where do we go from here? Because this was just a glimpse into what this lifestyle can do for all of y'all. And we really wanted to be able to provide you kind of a inside look to our personal routines and habits and how we've been able to level up our life. But as we know, that's not enough. Like, it doesn't matter, how many little challenges we do like this, free challenges, right? Because sometimes we're freeloaders. I'm not gonna lie, like, I have people that are freeloaders.
I've been there. Listen,
I'm taking advantage, totally, but at the same time, I know the capability and the dedication we put into something, and especially in developing ourselves when we actually have to invest. And the reason we say that is because you don't take things as seriously if it's free. And I know this because I've done free groups. I've either participated in them or I've ran them, and I've seen the difference between people that invest in themselves and have put that out there versus the ones that don't, because they're like, who cares? I didn't pay for this, so it doesn't matter. But when we have high stakes, it really makes a difference in how we show up. And so where do we go from here? And so we have a couple things that we wanted to offer you guys today as an opportunity for you to dig a little bit deeper, because we're just getting to the tip of the iceberg here. And we want to help you to really start kind of, what's the word that I used in one of our webinars? Unearth. I love that word.
That's a good word.
Unearth, that potential in us. And we believe, in my transformation was that physical health, that physical challenge of my body and my mind that transformed my life, that unearthed my purpose. I didn't know I was going to become a coach my first year of me working on myself. I had never imagined myself doing that. But through that unearthing process and seeing what it did for my life and how it transformed my family, my marriage, our finances over the years, not right away, but it did. Doing that, I know the gift that we have. And so that's why I wanted to jump right in and talk about, first off, where I'm going with this is I like to do little challenges because I feel like it's what keeps us leveled and focused during different aspects of our life. So I'm going to jump right in, Victor, and talk about my 90-day Get Fit with Natalie challenge, because I want to dig a little bit deeper with you. I want to
Can I help, Natalie?
Yeah, good. You want to go boot camp style. um, and we're going to talk about these health pieces that I mentioned a little bit here in the 5-day challenge. But I want to dig a little bit deeper. I want to give you actual routines to follow that you start to incorporate in your daily life, and also the other tips that we kind of mentioned, and digging a little bit deeper. And yes, here's what I believe most people are hungry for, but I didn't want to give you that. But this is my schedule. Like, this is legit how I break down my schedule. It's pretty ridiculous. But I do time blocks. I do ridiculous amount of planning for my days, and it's how I've been able to stay so productive. Yes, see, look at, we have the similar mindset, and it's because of the foundations we've been able to build, right? And so our having those strategies ultimately at the end of the day, long term, is going to help you become more productive, more efficient, level up, perform at higher levels. And so we understand this is not for everybody. Not everybody wants to level up. Not everybody wants to perform at higher level. Some people are satisfied where they're at. So if that's you, this is not for you. But for those that do want to level up, that realize that they're playing small and they don't want to play small anymore, this is for you. So I am running a discounted price right now for my 90-day Get Fit with Natalie challenge. So for those of you that are interested, I'll be dropping down my application down below for you to apply. And I know Victor has an incredible program as well for his people, because we have different personalities, we have different focuses, but it's an incredible opportunity we have to be able to join forces and be able to speak to the people that we need to speak to. And where you're at in your life, what you need. If you need to shift your health, if you need to shift your psychology and your mindset and belief in yourself, and maybe you're not ready for the full-on fit, challenge. So where you stand, but you have to decide, what's my next step. And I know a lot of people are going to be tempted to say right now, well, right now is not a good time. Right now is not a good time to really focus on all these things. Like, things are just gloomy. Well, that's all back here. It's all right here. Like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime right now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Call it out. Ooh, yeah, Mia. Yeah. So, one of the things that I wanted to, let's see, art is the expression of beautiful. I love that. So he says, art is for me the expression of thoughts, trauma, turbulence of life, a window for others to see that they are not alone, regardless of the connection to the work. You are spot on. Absolutely. So one of the things that I firmly believe is that we've been given the capacity, right? I think that we're all sovereign individuals. That means that no one on this earth can tell you who you are, how to live, how to be. And for me, what I found myself, because I had gone through so many tough experiences in my life, what I started to do was I started to surrender my ability, my power. I gave my power away and to other people. And I also, at some point, I went from giving my power away to other people to actually being my own oppressor, meaning that I became my worst enemy, that what other people did to me, I started doing to myself. And I wasn't even aware of that. I wasn't even conscious of the limiting belief systems, the value systems that I had adopted that actually brought me away from my purpose and brought me away from the things that I wanted and deserved, rather than bring me closer to it. And in the process, I not only hurt myself, but I hurt other people in the process, right? And there were consequences. I actually burned many bridges, right? And the thing was, I knew that I was doing that, but I didn't know, like, what do I do? Like, where do I start? Like, it's just, I don't even know where to begin. And like, I'm just a mess. Or, it's funny because, I used to pastor, and I used to work with youth and young adult in the church. And one of the things that happens in church is that a lot of people will say, "Oh, you know what? At some point, I got a personal relationship with God, yeah, but I got to get better before I go to church." And so the same thing happens when we notice that we want something. We just, well, maybe tomorrow, or I got to do X, Y, and Z, or No, no, that is a limiting belief system. That is a pattern that you have adopted, that you are practicing, that is actually bringing you away from rather than closer to. That is you not believing that you deserve the best that life has to offer. So you deserve the best. Look, if for some reason you've ever thought that you're not enough, that you are not lovable, that you don't deserve it, or that it's too hard, or that it's too difficult, that is a lie. That is absolute nonsense. I am working with individuals who right now were 2 years ago, they were fired. And they also have physical disabilities, very noticeable physical disabilities. And these individuals right now are earning six-figure incomes. They're actually helping other people also figure out how to shift during this time. People who used to be teachers, teaching people who used to be teachers or were in factories, are now learning how to code so that they can then get into tech. All right. So there are no excuses. I think we all know Nick Vivokolic. So he's the individual who was born without arms and legs, right? And this individual could have obviously have felt sorry for himself. And I think often we do that. We feel sorry for ourselves. And a lot of that stems from our early childhood development, that our parents treated it a certain way, or my father wasn't there. That was my thing, Mom. I had the father wound. Right. And I also actually had the mother wound as well, because both of them rejected me and I was adopted by my grandmother. Right. And so all these wounds basically act as a big barrier and a big wall for you to say yes and for you to act now. Right. And so if you're struggling with any of that stuff, listen, I just want to reach out and say, I want to be your friend. That's all I want to say. I want you to look me up on Epic Life Mastery. I want you to look me up, Victor Martinez. It's not Vic Money like the first like the first session that we had. Just look me up. I guarantee you, if you say, hey, listen, I heard your talk with Natalie about the 5-day productivity challenge, I am actually going to be releasing a book. It's going to be called Epic Shift. And that book, Be Legendary, Epic Shift, Be Legendary, that book within itself, I will give that book to you for free. I will also give you a free 1 hour a breakthrough coaching call. And I've been talking about my coaching and the coaching call. And I've gotten on calls with people, and I promise that in 30 minutes I will see you experience a breakthrough in your life. And I can attest that every single person that I got in the call with, we've had a huge, tremendous breakthrough. Look, my interest is not to dig into your pocket and try to take your money, because that's not what this is about. My genuine, authentic interest is to be here for you, because I know I've suffered voluntarily. I need you to listen to that. I, Victor Martinez, suffered voluntarily. Many of us are suffering voluntarily. And it is about time that we stop that we break the pattern, that we snap out of that trance that we're in. We're basically in a trance. And so what I want to say and what I want to offer is, look, first, I want to offer to you my friendship. All right. Check me out. Look at my page. Let's have a conversation. Listen, I don't have a whole lot of free time, but we got more time than we used to have, right? I don't need to commute here and there. So I love working with individuals who want to break cycles, individuals who want to shift their story, rewrite their narrative, individuals who want to brainstorm what their purpose, that looks like, and who want to brainstorm a plan to execute your purpose. I will dig deep with you, if you allow me to go in and look at all those limiting belief systems and take them out. I will uproot those with you. Right? This is a team effort. It's not me, right? I want to thank God for giving me the capacity to learn these things and for me to be able to share this wisdom with other people. I don't take it for granted. Listen, ultimately, people don't value me. They value my gifts. And I recognize that. So I'm not going to take it personal if you value my gifts more than you value me. That's okay. But that's what I'm here for. I'm not going to take it personal. So please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to just kind of like get to know you, who you are, what you're about. And if you have a business and you want to scale it, I mean, I love business. I mean, that's really what I love to do. If you have a non-for-profit, if you have whatever, and you want to scale it at a very reduced cost, with some simple methods, some technologies that you can leverage to scale your business, whether it's real estate, whether it's a bodega, whether it's an online store, it doesn't matter. Talk to me. I would love to connect with you. I would love to offer you resources and allow you to get to the next space, the next level, and the true version of the life that you deserve, which is the epic life. And the reason why I talk about epic is because an epic is a story. And it is about time that you picked up the pen to write your own story into existence, because it is nobody else's responsibility but our own. And so I'm here. My name is Victor Martinez. You can find me, Epic Life Mastery. I'd love for you to work with me over the next 90 days, right, to unleash the epic life that you deserve and be legendary day to day, moment to moment.
Amen. Yes, yes. So if any of y'all want to reach out after this call, you can find us at our Facebook pages, Victor Martinez and Natalie Garcia, RN. As you guys are watching this through my Facebook page, you can find me through there as well. And you can actually set up a call through there as well for consultation calls that we provide. So please do reach out. Don't just sit there as a sitting duck waiting for things to miraculously change for you. You've heard it over and over again. It's not going to happen
from the sky.
From the sky.
No one else is going to do it for you.
It's not going to come in a stimulus check.
No.
Yo, and listen, if you have received your stimulus check, listen, invest it in something that's going to pay you back. That's going to pay you back in some way or form. That's going to come back tenfold. And that's how I look at it, that every little cent I have invested into myself versus clothes and nails and hair, all those things, like I have actually received back in different ways, not just financially, but in different ways back tenfold what I have invested in myself. And so, you know, that's just it's a different mindset shift. And I hope that our testimonies of where we are in our lives can be enough for you to realize, like, okay, you are right. Like I need to stop making up the excuses and just do something, take action and do something for yourself. And I think 2020 is the year to do it, because this is where everything has shifted. And if there's no other time, there will never be any other time for you to really dig deep down than there is right now.
There's no better time than now to act. And so here's the thing. It's so funny, right? Because we're in 2020. And I don't think that things. So in our faith, right? So I'm a Christian. I'm a mystic Christian, and really what that means is that for me, I personally believe that I can have a personal relationship that that I can unite and be one with my Creator. Now, that's what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm worshiping any crazy stuff. Okay, so what that means is that I firmly believe that I have the power to co-create on this plane, on this earth. We all do. We all have that capacity. And Natalie, you talked about 2020. And what's interesting is that we have numerology, and numbers are extremely important. But 2020, based on the way that we register in our brain, based on our society, that means that you have what? 2020 vision. If this does not snap you out of what you are, or what you should be doing, and the vision for your life that you have to activate, nothing else will. I mean, it does. We should not have to wait until we hit rock bottom in order for us to pick ourselves up, or for us to like rescue ourselves from falling, from hitting rock bottom. No, no, no. We don't have to hit rock bottom. We don't have to struggle. We don't have to experience pain in order for us to get there. And so I think that that it's important for us to recognize that. The other thing is, look, you've thought your way into where you are right now. What we are talking about is saying, how do I install in my body a thought factory that produces the thoughts that lead to actions, that lead to belief systems and value systems and habits and mannerisms that create what I really want and deserve. Thought creates things, or thought equals things. Let's focus on installing whatever is necessary for you to get yourself from the jail cell that you're in now, or from the haven that you're in now, to a bigger haven. That, listen, maybe you're in a good place, maybe you're in a comfortable spot, but don't get too comfortable, because then you can backslide, right? So now, if you're in a good spot, let's bring your game to the next level so that you're sharing your abundance with other people. All right? And so that's what we're doing. We've been able to recognize that we have created our reality, and that we are abundant because of the experiences in the many years. Listen, I've been at this for a really long time. Let me tell you, I've been at this since I was a kid, because I had to go and live out on my own. I went to I was going to Central Catholic. I applied to Phillips Exeter so that I can actually have a physical, stable home. And so since I was young, I've been investing in myself, and I have a wealth of knowledge that I want to be able to share with people. And if you are in that position where you've done a lot of work, now it's time for you to give back, for you to pass it forward. And so I would encourage those individuals as well to give it forward and to stay in touch, to stay connected. That's all I have to say. I'm excited. I could keep talking about this for hours on end. Natalie, I also want to thank you. I want to thank you for being so brilliant, for being so courageous, for being so phenomenal. I think that the way that you carry yourself is inspiring. I've been inspired by seeing you, and I have been encouraged to share my voice, what I know, because of you. And so I want to thank you for touching my life, and for bringing my game up to the next level, and for creating a bit more of a receding hairline by trying to navigate YouTube channels and at StreamYard and Facebook and all this stuff, because that was my Achilles heel. We all have things to work on, and that was my major obstacle. And so I want to thank you for who you are, and I hope that God may continue to bless you with wisdom, with plenty of opportunities for you to continue to grow. And so I know that the folks who listen to you and watch you on a day-to-day basis, they are so touched by you. I am touched by you. So thank you. And I hope that you can continue to do that. Don't throw in the towel, girl. Keep pressing ahead. Keep pressing forward.
You'll make me cry over here. Thank you so much, Victor. I appreciate that feedback. And it always is humbling to hear that, but it's also a reminder of continuing to live out your purpose, no matter how hard it is. And that's kind of honestly why I feel like I keep going, because even the walls or obstacles I face, I know that there is someone who's waiting for that message, who has lost their marriage, who has lost everything, or hasn't felt enough, or hasn't felt loved. And if I can speak to you and I can change your life, like, that's the whole purpose. And so I always say, you know, if after all the work that I've done, I shift one person's life, that is enough. Because guess what? That person will then go change other people's lives. And then that's going to be generational changes. And so all I need to focus on is that one person who's going to then shift other people's. And it's going to be this never ending ripple effect. And that's how I look at my work, because I truly believe that if we focus, like we talked about in the beginning, it's not about big changes, it's about the little tweaks. And if we focus on the little bits, not the crowds, like I have, I used to think about like I need to have an audience, I need to have a huge
I need to have a stadium full of people.
stadium of like thousands of people, like other coaches. And then I had this epiphany, like, no, Nat, you just need one. Just one. Bring one. And I always hear that from like God, like his scriptures, like if you just bring one soul to me, that is enough. And to me, that's a reminder, like that's how small we need to focus on, is each individual person has a name, has a purpose. And so every single day, I may be meticulous, and many people know me for this. I may be very anal and OCD about my process, and I may give too much.
Maybe.
But I do it because I understand that my purpose, every single morning, I wake up with that purpose. And so I show up, and I show up all ugly and messed up and all sweaty and a hot mess and in my gym clothes. And people know I show up however I am because I want to be there for you. And so you're right. And people that come near me or around me understand that I can be kind of harsh in a positive way, where I kind of force you in a non-intentional way to level up. Because if I believe like people will level up as high as you are. And so if my standards are high, that means you're going to have to reach even higher. Right. And so I feel like the more consistent I am in my work, it's going to help other people become more consistent in theirs. And so, that's the ultimate mission and purpose. And like I mentioned today, for those of you who have seen my post today, my video is, at the end of the days, I want to change homes. I want to change families. I want to be able to help families stay together. And I believe at the end of the day, the reason why marriages are falling apart, why so many people suffer with depression and anxiety, why so many people are on medications, why so many people are sick all the time, why people are in debt, is because at the end of the day, they don't believe they deserve better. And so I want to shift. I want to shift homes, and I want to impact you on such a deeper level that, your children's children will look back at you and say, thank you. Thank you for leveling up your life. Because of you, I am living out my purpose. And that's where we can change lives. It's our children's. It's your example as a parent, as the adult. We can do that. And it's not through politicians, and it's not through government. It's in our homes. And so I want to change homes.
I want to change hearts. I want to and I love that. Listen, it's difficult to bring someone to a place you've never been. And we've been down some nasty alleyways, down the valley of the shadow of death. And we've come back, and we've moved forward and pressed ahead. And so we hope that the conversation that we had today has given you an opportunity to recognize that we are authentic, that we are genuine, that we love to help, that we want to fulfill our purpose, and we want to be able to do that with you. And so I hope that you enjoyed what we've been able to talk about. Natalie, thank you once again. I've been blessed. I've been privileged. And I hope this is not the last time.
Yes. So stay connected, guys. After this live, reach out, #productivity challenge. So we know that you watched us live, or #replay too. And don't be afraid to reach out. That's what we're here for. We're here with open arms to listen, to hear, and help you to move forward. Thank you guys for joining us today. We look forward to where we're going from here, and looking forward to helping you to get to that next level. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you, Victor, for taking this time for the last 4 weeks, I think, that we've been on this journey. And this is kind of like the next step to the top of that mountain. So I hope you guys are ready to take this journey and start climbing, because we haven't even gotten to the bottom of that mountain to start climbing. We're just getting there. So I appreciate you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys soon, and looking forward to working with those that are looking to work a lot deeper than we have so far. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.